Hello there, friendos. It's your old pal Chad Dukes, and this is my producer, Gigantor. If you're liking what you're seeing here on the Chad Dukes Show YouTube channel, well, we sure would love it if you'd click like on this video, then maybe hit subscribe. Hit that little bell thing. Isn't that what you do? You hit the bell, and then we spam your phone. We sure would appreciate it. And if you don't want to do that, well, then don't. Those seem to be the options. Take care. One of the crazier weeks we've ever had. I'm your host with the most big shooter. Gigantor is here, the executive producer, EP Eric Pickle. Hello, Gigantor.
What's up, Dukes?
Not much. Apparently he is not garrulous on a Friday. And Lottie Dottie We Likes to Party is sitting in. Of course, Dottie featured prominently on Thursday's episode where we debuted the movie club. Hold on. We got to go. Breezy, get her. She gotta get her 2 cents in there at the very end. Many thanks to the big damn band. Dottie, big part of the very first rendition of the Chad Dukes Show. Let's see if I can get this right. The Fortress Film Society, the FFS. Of course, we do the show in the Fortress of Solid Dudes and love movies and have done movie clubs, many movie clubs with Lottie Dottie on various different shows, including our own movie show we did for a short spell before he had a mental breakdown. Good to see you, Lottie.
The quarterly scheduled mental breakdown?
Yeah. I'm always like that. I go home and I'm like, hey, I hung out with Dotson tonight. She's like, oh, that's great. My wife will be like, I'm glad you got to see him because he's going to freak out and you're not going to see him for 3 months. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
I think she at one point had beef with me because she thought that I was stringing you along.
Yeah, I think she used those words. I've had a lot of people say that to me, like that I get used and buffaloed by you. And I'm like, it's not possible because I've accepted Dotson for who he is, and I enjoy his company. And sometimes he freaks and runs to the hill like Iron Maidens. It's fine. The relationship is perfectly acceptable in those terms.
No, it's really nice that you know me well enough and that you understand that sometimes I just lose my fucking mind. So I appreciate you having me on as always.
It's the best way of putting it, and it's also fun. It's just fun talking movies, man. You get to sit in with the interview with Jay Chandrasekhar and talk to a guy that makes movies and is making a movie with Joe Coy for DreamWorks. Like, it's just fun. That discussion for me, and I know that in the pod world it exists, but I always wonder, you got a sports talk radio station, you got a political talk radio station. You don't think you could do movies and games and just have a lineup of hosts that are good, talk about that stuff all day? I bet you could.
You'd actually build out your audience for once.
You think? You absolutely, it would be advantageous for me.
And Jay's always a 10 when you have him on whatever program, and he just
awesome dude.
Nothing different this time around. You can tell that he likes you and likes talking to you. I mean, what you guys did, we did 35 minutes with him.
Yeah,
very gracious of him.
Well, it's cool because we're probably not. We don't have much in common at all. Movie wise, I think he's into different stuff than I am, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. And he's just a funny, smart dude, and I would have him on whenever he'd be nice enough to share a couple of moments. That'll be on today's show, by the way. Dottie and I had a chance to speak to Jay, of course, the director of Super Troopers and Beer Fest, and he's just done some really cool stuff, man. And he's friends with Willie Nelson, and he writes books, and he does TV, and he's got a new project he's working on. So anytime I can catch up with that guy. But you actually, during the interview, and people will be able to hear it in just a second, you brought up a good point, Dotson, is that when you're in their world, they are so known for, hey, those are the funny cops with the mustaches,
right,
or those are the Beer Fest guys, that I wonder if it's difficult to not just say, well, if we make one of these movies, our fans will come out, rather than try new stuff, because that is a very hotly debated thing in entertainment right now, especially with shows like The Mandalorian or with WandaVision. It's like fan service. Like, when is fan service a good thing, and when does it actually hold you back from a product because you're so busy catering to this very vocal minority?
I don't think anyone's figured it out yet.
Right.
I think that whatever happens, I mean, you make this point all the time, no matter what happens, someone's always angry. And they're still figuring out who they're okay with being angry and who they're not okay with,
right,
and what's going to hurt them. And sometimes they make, when I say they, just like the general, these big companies, the people behind Marvel, the people behind Star Wars, they make a decision, and I'll think, okay, well, that on paper that looks pretty good, and then somehow it comes out and it's just garbage. Or it could be the other way around, is they surprise us. We think that they're going in the wrong direction, and then something works. No one has figured out the formula yet.
Star Wars is such a cruel mistress too. Like, I mean, God bless this, whatever that entity is at this point, but it's become so large that it's not just we're catering to Star Wars fans, because there's not just Star Wars fans. There's subsects. There's people that are obsessed with the books. There's people that are obsessed with the cartoons. There's people that just, they hate all of the stuff outside of the original trilogy. And like, they're all lumped together and none of them are happy. And then I think you have a bunch of nerd hurt that gets injected in there where you're putting way too much emphasis. I remember when I was like 22, 23, like the Redskins would lose and I'd break stuff. And it's just like, dude, that was not about the team. That's about something else going on in your life. And I don't know, maybe some people don't learn that lesson. But if you're one of those like Marvel, DC, I mean, Jesus Christ, they're putting out a trailer for a movie that bombed that they have like an additional 20 minutes for or whatever. And you just see people debating it nonstop every minute of the day ad nauseum on the internet.
I think I really appreciate Jay kind of sticking to his guns when we asked him about it.
Right.
And I think in the nicest way possible, he kind of said, well, they aren't the ones making the movies, we are, and so we trust ourselves, we know what's funny, and so that's what we're going to keep doing.
Well, those guys especially.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't recreate the chemistry that they have and how long they've known each other and how much writing they've done together. I mean, think about the reps those Broken Lizard guys have together, just writing script after script after script.
And I think, was it in an interview once where it was maybe Super Troopers 2, he mentioned that the goal was to write one joke a minute?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
He said the one thing we can control is just cram as many jokes into this thing as possible.
But like that's thinking like a pro. Like, I've been making movies for 20 years, and so I'm going to approach it like this. You're not just trying to wing it and be funny, and I'm sure that they could if they just went in there like guerrilla style. But that is proof, like, yeah, these people know what they're doing,
right?
And we should trust them.
Well, it's also it seems to be like these. If I'm in a comedy, I am very hyper aware if I have not laughed in a while.
Yes,
and that's why whenever the comedy has that breakdown in the middle, where like the character has some sort of point they need to get past, I never have it. It's Chris Farley. When Brian Dennehy dies in Chris Farley, and he has that moment where he's like walking in and the leaves are falling, it just doesn't feel right to me because it's just a mile a minute, that movie. Mm-hmm. Tommy Boy.
Comedies are definitely the hardest. I mean,
and the most disrespected, I think.
But I would say, like, for our movie club, I think that choosing a comedy would always be the FFS. Choosing a comedy would always be a risky move because comedy is the most relative of all of these genres. I think everyone can be excited by an action sequence. Everyone, I think, can appreciate a horror sequence, whether they're scared by it or they enjoy it, but everyone has different ideas of what they think is funny. And so comedies are probably the movies that I recommend the least to people because unless it's like a really good friend, I don't know if they're going to laugh or not, and then I don't want them to walk away and be pissed at me that I told them to watch something they don't like.
Also, I wouldn't judge your intellect if you recommended an action movie to me and I didn't like it. But if you recommend a comedy to me and it's stupid, like if Tor, I guarantee Tor one day is going to come in and go, Dukes, have you seen Hot Tub Time Machine? And then we're never going to speak to each other ever again. Like there's something about that too, where comedy, I will think less of you if you think a bad comedy movie is funny, which is weird because Ace Ventura 2 is the lowest of lowbrow, and I probably laughed the most at that movie than anything else on the planet.
It's the funniest movie I've ever seen.
It's the funniest movie I've ever seen. And you know what? It's the best movie I've ever seen.
Well, like, we're kind of in sync. I would feel comfortable telling you, I think you're going to laugh at this.
Right.
Because I know you really well. But if you're talking to, almost anyone in conversation, it's much more of a risk.
It is. And I take more offense. If people, like Tor said he didn't like Heat, and so I know that he has bad taste. But like I don't take personal offense to it. Like if you don't like Blues Brothers, I'm gonna get mad at you. Like I'm not gonna understand the way you operate. So Jay, we're gonna have some of that interview for you here on today's episode. Also, I didn't know this, Lottie Dottie. You're a mark for Ant-Man and his contributions to the body mass index, the BMI segment that we do each and every week on the program. And this was the first week we did one down at the Outer Banks featuring a lot of topicality from that area of the country. It's one of my favorite segments of the week as well.
Body mass index is my favorite part of the Chad Duke show right now.
Look at you.
And I certainly have had my tiffs with Ant-Man on and off the air.
Well, who hasn't? He's insufferable.
A lot of ribbing. I mean, he was beloved on the broadcast when we were doing that together.
He was. He was not beloved on Big O and Dukes.
I think he does a tremendous job. He's comfortable on the mic. He comes in. He's prepared. He knows what he's talking about. I love when he comes on and shoots the shit with you guys about fast food.
But that's how you got to have him on. You got to have him on about a topic that he's comfortable with, and he's got to be prepared. Because if he's just sitting there giving his opinion, whoa, Nelly. It's like the elevator doors opening up in The Shining. But you're going to hear this. You're going to hear this today.
This is the Body Mass Index on the Chad Dukes Show.
My favorite part of that sounder, I don't know if you noticed, Dottie, but there's two different forms of gasping for air. Which, by the way, at the beach house, I don't know if you noticed this tour, many stairs, Ant-Man constantly sucking wind the entire weekend. Constantly just flushed and sucking for air. So you'll hear that as well today on the program. And then we did a video game special. One of the reasons why you got to subscribe to the Chad Dukes Show, ChadDukesShow.com. You get bonus content. And this week, the bonus content was we did a full-blown video game special. And my buddy Brian Shea was on, who runs Game Informer. And there's just a shitload to talk about. And one of the things we talked about, Dottie, I know you're passionate about, the giant vampire woman with the big-ass summer hat from the new Resident Evil Village trailer. I know you said you would. She scares me too much, I think, to even try. Also, I think Tor's dating this woman, and she lives out of Winchester. What is it about? I feel like the Japanese horror movies, The Grudge, like the movies like that, they figured out, let's take something that normally isn't horrifying and make it horrifying. Like a 40-pound girl, let's have her skitter up the wall and clutch the ceiling and everyone won't be able to sleep for months. I would never have thought, wow, 10-foot-tall, very austere woman in a castle would scare the piss out of me as much as that woman in that trailer does.
Yeah, I had a really similar reaction to the trailer after I cleaned off my chest.
Ew! Gross! Where did that come from? Out of nowhere!
You okay, Tor?
Oh, no, I'm just picturing it.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it sure is, Dottie. It sure is.
But I mean, I'm not normally a patron of the Resident Evil games. I like the movies, interesting enough. Like
I like the first movie.
I didn't play the games, but I'm a sucker for the movies. They're not all very good, but I have a lot of fun with them. The trailer has me interested, though.
Mortal Kombat stuff looks good. By the time people are listening to this, though, the trailer will be out, and we might feel differently.
That's
but
true.
Some of the imagery coming out. We talk about all that with Brian Shea from Game Informer. That's coming up on the program today as well. All right, very good stuff. Well, Tubes, always appreciate you stopping in. Fun time doing the movie club. We're going to do another one in 2 weeks. People can check that out and be a part of that if they want to go to ChadDukesShow.com as well. We'll do that on a regular basis. That's always fun. I love a good movie club, and I feel like we got a good group for this movie club.
I feel good about it.
I do as well. Thank you to the Tubes. All right, well, let's start with Mr. Jay Chandrasekhar, director, world-renowned comedic director. Love that guy on the Chad Dukes Show.
Make sure you sign up for the Chad Dukes Show mailing list on ChadDukesShow.com. Be the first to know what's happening on the program and maybe even win a prize or two. We promise we won't fill up your inbox with tasteful nudes. Well, we promise we'll truly make an effort not to.
I've been a fan of this gentleman for, I don't know, as long as I've been watching movies, I feel like. And then he actually came to town to promote Slam and Salmon with the rest of Broken Lizard. And it happened to be the exact week that the radio station flipped formats from Fun Talk to Sports Talk. So it was an odd time. And then he was up here in this actual room for Big O and Dukes once, and really admire the guy and think he's a great filmmaker and a funny dude. The great Jay Chandrasekhar joins us now on the program, the Brenco Solutions Hotline. Jay, always a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I remember when that format switch happened. Didn't it switch to sports, right?
Yeah, so it was so crazy. I was so excited to interview you guys, and we were going to do it on what was then Big O and Dukes, and our audience was huge. We had done the Beer Fest screening, and you know, we had chewed a lot of the same dirt. They flipped formats, driving away everybody, and then I started doing a sports show with LeVar Arrington, but I guess whoever the label was you guys were working with had already paid for the spots. I don't even know what was going on, so I was thrilled, but it went from us hanging out and having a huge event to, I think we were in a cell phone store in Washington, D.C. interviewing all you guys.
Well, I mean, we've been interviewed in strange places before. When we went to Australia, the publicist was trying so hard to get people to pay attention to these 509 guys who wore cop uniforms who were promoting Super Troopers. And she took us to a tire store opening on a Sunday morning.
Oh, no.
And we cut the ribbon and we're taking pictures and they're like, "Here are you guys." And we're like eating meat pies. And
Well,
it was ineffective.
What was the, like, is that, if you're making a list of a power ranking of the most awkward things you've had to do to promote a project, I can't tell you how many awkward radio appearances I've made over the years where nobody showed up and people were upset. Like, what's the most awkward one you've been through?
Well, it was also Australia. I mean, you got to remember, like, the movie came out, Super Troopers came out in America and did pretty well, made about $20 million, which was good for $1 million movie, right? But they thought, hey, this is going to work in Australia. And by the way, the film is huge in Australia eventually. But when we go there, nobody has ever heard of us before. And so they're like, they're just trying to get as much whatever press as possible.
Sure.
And so they took us to a mall in the morning at about 11 a.m. and they had about a 6-inch stage built in like the food court. And a guy in a tuxedo got on stage and gathered all the women and their small children who were not in school and said, "Ladies and children, welcome to Super Troopers from America." And everyone, and we walked on stage in our uniforms because they dragged us around that country in our uniforms. And people, I mean, smattering of applause was invented for that moment. I mean, it was taking pictures with 3 or 4 or 5-year-olds. It was nonsense.
How much different was it? Super Troopers is now ubiquitous, and then you write the sequel, you finally get it done after years. What was it like? Because now you've had television shows, everybody's trying to cut. I mean, I feel like there's been entire empires built off of ripping off the gimmick that you guys came up with.
Yeah.
How much different was it promoting 2 as opposed to 1?
Well, it was great. I mean, I was on the Tonight Show with Fallon, and I was on Colbert. Everybody who runs all those shows, they're all comedy fans. So they grew up and watched our movie, and they're like, "Oh my God, they're going to come in with a mustache? It's great." So it was vastly easier, and more fun. I mean, obviously the film is, work at a sequel, you got to be ready to sort of kind of, because the original, look, I don't tend to see sequels because in my heart, the original movie has such a prominent place. And I'm like, well, I used to smoke a lot with my friends right there. I didn't have a job. All these things were perfect for me loving that movie. So when the sequel comes out, I'm like, I just remember the first one. And so you have to deal with that when you make a sequel. And I don't care. I mean, look, we made 8 movies and done a ton of television. You just absorb some hits and then you move on. But that movie too, is getting its own group of fans that is really taking off. It's taking off in a different way, but it's really doing well,
It's great. Would there have been a Cracklin' Bacon like I see Kevin Smith is doing this restaurant pop-up bit from his properties, like going on tour, going around the country. It's a great idea. I feel like you could have done a musical tour for that one. You could have probably thrown in some Coconut Pete songs or whatever you want to do. I mean, musically, I feel like you guys got some chops now.
Well, we talked a lot about shooting a Cracklin' Bacon song and maybe shooting a music video.
Please do that.
But nobody, Eric and Steve can play guitar, and that's about it. I mean, Lemmy can fake play drums, Heffernan can fake play bass, and I can kind of fake play guitar, but, I can sort of, not really. It would sound terrible, and I know we can fake it, I think we're just going to stay in our lane on this one.
Yeah, but I think you could look, man. John Belushi can't play any instruments. Dan Aykroyd, I think he can play the harmonica. I mean, there's just ways to go about this. You get some studio. I mean, Kevin Costner. Do we really think that he's Jimmy Page up there, or does he have 12 studio musicians behind him that kick ass? I don't know. I think it's worth thinking about. I had to ask. I had an interesting text exchange with you the other day where. I love Club Dread. I started a Club Dread the tribute band. I just think it's funny. I thought it was ahead of its time as far as meshing horror. And we're doing a movie club actually for this episode for Freaky, which is a horror comedy. And I just feel like you guys are way out ahead of the curve on that one. I feel like it's not on Blu-ray, and it pisses me off. And once every 6 months I get drunk and I text you, please release Club Dread on Blu-ray, and I feel bad that you have to get those texts. But I took a
I'm not the guy in charge of what films go on Blu-ray.
Okay.
I
get that. It's probably Stolhansky. I probably should send him those things.
I've called the studio and said, can you put this out on Blu-ray? They're like, yeah, man. Yeah, we'll get back to you.
And that's the way it goes. But you guys put out a 7-inch record of Bill Paxton, who is the best, performing all of those songs a couple years back, and it was tremendous. And then that same record company put up a post a few months back saying, hey, we're doing a 12-inch version of this. And on the jacket is you. It's all the guys. It's everybody from the press photo from the movie. So I sent it over and I said, hey, man, I'm a little pissed. I have a band that covers these songs. I really wish you would have let me know this was going down. And your response was, where the hell did you see this? I got no knowledge of what's going on here. Someone's ripping us off. Does that happen all the time? How did that take place?
Well, I don't know. Like, the truth is, I'm not in charge of that portion of our merchandise. And so right after you sent that text, Eric Stolhansky sent me a text and said, do you want the new Coconut Pete album? And I was like, oh, I guess it is us, right? And so I said, sure. And then so then they sent me a couple of them. And then I'm like, I don't even have a record player. But if you want, I'll send you one or two or three or whatever.
Well, no, I'm gonna buy it. I like to support what you guys do, for God's sakes. I want you to continue to make content.
I'm dealing with certain portions of our merch, which is really related to this company, the Chive. I don't know if you know that.
Of course.
Yeah, you know the Chive. So they sell Bill Murray swag, Chris Farley swag, and Broken Lizard swag. And so I'm kind of involved in that. And Eric is dealing with the other section of our merchandise. So he's the one who ended up, he knew about this record. I didn't. So I don't,
I mean, it's a tremendous record. I just think that there's some value also in hearing those songs covered by a portly, disgruntled disc jockey. I think people should also check that out if they'd like to really hear the true interpretations.
I mean, it's an honor that you've done this, and I've seen the crowd, and it's an honor. It's incredible.
It's a great flick. I'm very excited. You got a new gig. One of the reasons why we were supposed to link up last week, but it sounded like it was a big week for you because you're a director, you're a writer, you're an actor, so you're always doing stuff, even if it's not Pot Fest or Beer Fest 2 or what everyone's screaming about on social media. What is the new gig for Mr. Jay Chandrasekhar?
There's a comic named Joe Coy who's he's on Netflix. He's got
I love him.
3.
He's great.
Yeah, so he's like a Filipino American guy, funny guy. He sells out the Forum multiple nights in a row. He's just a huge. He's kind of huge in certain sections of the country, and frankly the Philippines is massive. But for some reason, Mr. Spielberg saw Joe Coy stand up and said, "I love this guy. Let's meet him." This Joe went in, and Steven Spielberg said, "Let's make a movie with you." And so they hired a writer, and they wrote this kind of like the movie Friday, sort of. Like it all takes place in one day. It's just like we're trying to go after his stand-up. He kind of makes a lot of fun of his Filipino family. So it's going to be like him going home for Easter Sunday. It's a little bit of mobster action, and there's a family, and it's sort of fun. We're trying to make a really funny Joe Coy movie. And so I'm going up to Vancouver with Joe, and we're going to start shooting in the beginning of May, and then, we'll be done about mid-June, and I'll start cutting. And I leave for Vancouver, fairly soon, and then I'm going to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. Which will be me alone in an apartment.
It sucks.
And then they release you, so we'll see.
And I got COVID and I had to stay in quarantine for 10 days. And I don't know if you've done it already. You run out of shit to do. Like, you just run out of ways to kill the time. I mean, internet's great. Porn's great. Uber Eats is great. Like, I love all that. I play the video games, I read the books, but it's just like by day 7 or 8, you're like, I would kill to walk into a dirty Target right now. If I could go to the dirtiest Target in Northern America, I would right now.
Well, I don't even know what to do. I'm kind of trying to imagine what I'll need books-wise and movie-wise, but I guess I'm about to find out.
Drinking. I think drinking probably helps quite a bit. Well, that's awesome, man. I don't know if you've have you seen what Joe Coy does in Hawaii when he goes to Hawaii and the rooms he can sell out in that place?
Yeah, I saw the Netflix special in Hawaii, which was funny. Yeah, he's got this appeal, of course, to Filipino Americans and Filipinos, but also to Latino people, because I guess Spain at one point conquered the Philippines. So there's a sort of a crossover there. And then he's just got this big, there are white people in the audience for sure, but there's all sorts of different people in that audience. It's a really multi-racial kind of crowd.
Yeah, I think he's funny as shit. I heard him on Carolla's show, and he would he would destroy. And Carolla's a funny dude, and he would crack Adam up the whole thing. If you can make funny people laugh, like, that's kind of next level Zen funniness, And I just he seems to do really well whatever room he's in. That's going to be exciting to see you guys working together.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. It's like you kind of figure out what the movie should be, and then you try to go out and capture what makes him funny and put it in there. It's a little different than your typical Broken Lizard movie where we write 30 drafts of the script. This is kind of like, there's going to be a little more kind of rehearsal and improvisation and trying to find, because when you take stand-ups and turn them into actors, you've got to make sure they're comfortable and they feel that they're being funny, because the crew's not allowed to laugh. So you kind of got to put some of their favorite bits in and try to, you break those jokes apart and reconstruct them for film.
Jay Dotson here from the movie show. One thing I love about your projects is the way that the fans rally behind them, like during production and all of that, with the Kickstarters and, all of the love and support that went into making Super Troopers 2 from the audience that you and the guys had already built.
It was awesome.
Now we're in a weird timeline where, no Kickstarters, no real interaction with the creators, such as yourself. But we see these fans and kind of what they've done with Warner Brothers, and now we're in this space where Zack Snyder's Justice League is hitting HBO Max in a couple days. Something that has been some weird internet trend for years at this point. What does that mean to you as a creator who has had these experiences with his audience, and how it can lead to new projects and new endeavors?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I feel bad for filmmakers whose major films are finished and waiting now, because it's everyone says, oh, it's fine, I just gotta watch it at home, and it's nonsense. I mean, it's like these big films should be out in front of crowds, and so should, frankly, our films, comedies. They should be. And they will be again, by the way. This is just, I know everyone thinks that this moment is the moment that'll last forever. It's not. I mean, in my opinion, as soon as this COVID's really done, there's going to be, watch and see if the orgy movement doesn't pick back up again. People are going to be intentionally unclean, right? That's going to be the new hip. And movies are going to come back. They're better because we're social animals. It's just a reality. to have a movie come out and build and make and put it out on a streamer, every one of those filmmakers is feeling really sad inside. I mean, Kristen Wiig's movie's coming out on that way. And that movie made over $100 million in the theaters. It's like, come on. I mean, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. But it is what it is for the moment. You can also just wait and wait till September and keep your life on hold. But the truth of and the reason I think I'm right is because the truth of the economic model of theaters is it's sound. If people go, then the home video is worth X dollars more, and the airplane's worth more. We have a system built on theatrical success. So if we can get people back in, they're going to certainly try. I mean, I believe it'll happen.
The Chad Duke Show merchandise store is up and running. So click the shop tab on ChadDukesShow.com for show t-shirts and koozies.
The Chad Dukes Show video game spectacular. Very excited for this episode. We have a cavalcade of credible guestery here today. Now for you, ladies, gentlemen. Brian Shea is my buddy. I think he's come on every radio show that I have done. Does a great job. Digital editor for Game Informer magazine. It's Brian P. Shea on all the social medias. And of course, check out his work. GameInformer.com. As always, Brian, great to talk to you, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I'm doing all right. It's a little frigid up here in Minneapolis, but I think we're coming out of it at the end of this week, so all good.
A little frigid down here. I can't even imagine what it's like up there. But that's a beautiful piece of country up there. You just have to deal with Antarctic John Carpenter's The Thing-like conditions for about 3 months out of the year.
Oh, yeah, the lakes are amazing. I mean, the summer, you could not ask for a better summer. So, we kind of tolerate the winter in hopes of the reward of the summer.
And you got the tubes, right? I think we've talked about the tubes where you walk from building to building inside the tubes. I always find that to be very interesting.
Yeah, so it's Skyways.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's only downtown, and I live out in the burbs, so it's not it's not really beneficial to me right now. But yeah, whenever I have to go downtown and move from building to building, that's always the way to do it.
Super cool. Well, let's start with the biggest story. Kamaru Usman, how impressive is that dude? Are you surprised that I saw some comments from George St. Pierre kind of downplaying how he wouldn't be interested in a fight like that? I would imagine it's because he doesn't think that he'll win a fight like that would be one of the motivating factors. But man, that would be a super fight I'd pay to see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is everybody's always talking about all right, is Khabib going to come back and take on somebody at 155? But I think I would probably favor Kamaru if Khabib came back to fight Kamaru. But that's the fight I want to see. I want to see if Khabib's going to come back for 30-0 or try for 30-0. I want to see it against Kamaru. But GSP would be amazing as well. But I think that, I think Kamaru right now, the way he's fighting, the way he's just demolishing everyone in his path, I think he beats GSP coming off of, what has it been, 4-year layoff again?
Yeah.
I think that's Kamaru's fight to take.
And I'm a big fan of Michael Bisping, and I'm a big fan of him on the mic and just kind of his whole career and how he won his title, but I think there's a reason why GSP unretired and came back to win that title against that guy too. He seems to be a bit of a chess player when it comes to booking himself, and I get that part of the game as well. Speaking of games, I got so much to ask you about. I didn't think I would. The last time I had John, it was a few months ago, and I think we were talking about the next gen systems. I didn't think it'd be months later and I'd still be sitting here looking at eBay and having to throw down $1,000 if I want one of these things. Can you kind of take us through, I guess maybe I've forgotten what it was like when Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out, if they were this difficult to find. I remember the Wii was a bear for months and months and months to try to get one, but why are we still having such a difficult time finding these machines now as consumers?
Well, a lot of the consoles have had stuff like this. Like you said, the Wii was just insane trying to find for almost a full year, if I recall. The Wii U obviously did not have that big of a problem. I think I walked into a store on day one. I was like, hey, I'd like a Wii U. And they're like, all right, yeah, we've got plenty. The Switch, though, did have some supply shortage. I think that it took several months before that was readily available in stores. And then when the pandemic happened, they went out of stock all over again because people wanted to play Animal Crossing in the pandemic. So I remember the PS4 did have some supply issues early on, but I feel like by Christmas time, it was pretty much remedied, maybe early the following year. But yeah, I think that this is a combination of just unprecedented demand for these consoles because, like I said, with like the pandemic, so many people are staying home and playing video games. Video games had one of their biggest years ever in 2020. And combine that with the fact that a lot of the supply chain stuff is also impacted by COVID. So it's making it tougher for them to manufacture these and get them shipped to where they need to be. That said, I think it is becoming slightly easier in recent weeks in particular. I've had a couple of friends who have been trying to help out to find them. Like every time I see somebody like cheapassgamer.com is a great website to follow, and they'll often post like, all right, it's going live on Amazon in X number of minutes, like keep refreshing until you see it. And like, I've been watching those like a hawk, trying to like just passing the links along. Like, hey, this is going live in 5 minutes. Go try to get it. And my friends are finally starting to get them after striking out for months on end. So definitely some methods to like, if you want to devote some extra time where you're going to have more success than if you're just like, you know, waking up every morning, checking the usual suspects and then be like, oh, well, not today, I guess. So, to answer your question, I think we're going to probably start seeing these consoles coming closer to readily available, probably by the time the weather starts warming up. I would say we're probably going to start seeing it easier to get them.
I almost find it to be a blessing, to be honest with you, because I just don't feel like when these things start up, the catalog's not necessarily there. A lot of the games coming out, they're still being made for PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones or whatever it is. So I also don't know how you feel about it, Brian. I don't really fault people that make their money flipping stuff. It's like, whatever. They're not hurting anyone. It's not illegal. I also in no way want to support it. Like, I don't like buying scalped tickets. I don't like buying people that are flipping stuff as far as, collecting cards or vintage games or whatever it is. Like, go ahead and do that. But I am willing to wait, even if I could afford it, to not be a part of that whole machine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. I mean, people got to make money the way they got to make money, but at the same time, I don't have to support them in their ventures. I don't want to encourage people to, go and buy up the entire stock of PS5s and then flip them for $1,000 when people could have just, like, people who actually wanted to play them could have gone and bought them at Target or wherever they went. So I'm right there with you where I'd prefer if they didn't, but I get it.
Yeah, I get it as well. My buddy Brian Shea from Game Informer is on the Chad Duke Show. It's at Brian P. Shea. You can follow him on social media. Talk to me about the new Resident Evil. They do such a great job of shaking things up, and the cottage industry is shock and awe with them, especially when a trailer comes out. But I got to say, the giant vampire woman with the big hat, I don't know what it is about her, but I first saw people discussing her, and then I'm like, oh, God, I'm just so tired of the internet just going crazy about things that aren't worthy. And then I watched the trailer, and I'm like, what on earth? I think that because it's such a non-conventional look and feel, and the building is interesting, and the family structure is interesting, and it's supposed to be a sequel to Biohazard, but it's not exactly. You don't really know what's going on at first. And that playable trailer it looked beautiful and it was really spooky, but you really don't know I don't know, man. I feel like whatever that marketing is, it's giving me like a Cloverfield vibe, where that first Cloverfield movie, people were just trying for months to figure out what the hell was going on. I'm getting a vibe like that with the giant vampire lady with the big hat.
Yeah, they're doing a really great job of kind of drip feeding it. It's weird because, for the longest time, we only had like an announcement essentially that like, hey, Resident Evil Village, and like a very small teaser. And then one day, I think it was a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X like promotional video with tennis player Naomi Osaka. She was playing Resident Evil Village, and like that was our first look at gameplay. And it was like, what? Why is this the first look of gameplay that we get of this game? That was kind of a weird thing. But since then they've started, like you said, they had the playable demo. They've pulled back the curtains quite a bit now, and I think it's really going to start ramping up with the release coming towards us. But they've done a great job of kind of building the mystery, which is difficult in a franchise that has been around for so long, has had so many entries out. It's like, all right, yeah, we get it, zombies, we get it, all right, grotesque horror. But I think Resident Evil 7 really reinstated the sense of you have no idea what's going on, you have no idea what to expect, because it was the first time that it was first person. It was all in this this one like decrepit house in what was it, out in the bayou. So it was like an entirely different vibe than anything Resident Evil had done to that point, especially Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, which were essentially third-person shooter action games. So I really like the way 7 flipped it up on its head, and then you have 8 or Village that is just completely looks like it's along the same lines as 7, but at the same time they've held their cards so close to the vest that you really don't know what to expect, and I love that about it.
I think so too, and I think like when they take chances saying, hey, we're going to completely put this in a different look, I love the BioShock games. It's my favorite franchise, but there's going to be a weird ass city and there's going to be monsters. I mean, you just kind of know what's going to happen. Like when I play Borderlands, I know exactly what it's going to look and feel like. And just, with the mechanics and the consumables and all that, you kind of know what you're getting with the Resident Evil game. But I do like that franchise is as established as it is and has this voracious community, but they'll still just whack you upside the head, disorient you. It's like, a fighter can get his bell wrong. And if a fighter gets his bell wrong, well, then it doesn't matter. Skills go out the window, his equilibrium's off. And I feel like they're very good with doing that with their fan base.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's when series that start to get a little stale, that's when they really make their comeback. Like we saw it with Assassin's Creed. Like I think that original Assassin's Creed formula started petering out, even though I think Syndicate was probably the best game in that style, which was the last one they put out. And then they followed that up with Origins, which completely changed everything up for Assassin's Creed. And then your and I favorite, Odyssey.
Yeah, love it.
Which is easily my favorite Assassin's Creed game at this point. But, I think that's the kind of change-ups that these long-running franchises need. You can't just rest on your laurels and be like, all right, well, people loved this game 20 years ago. Let's just keep putting out that style. It's nice to see these franchises taking chances on these big, or these companies taking chances on these big franchises.
I think, did we differ on what we felt about Valhalla? Because I was so bummed out after Odyssey. I played the game for about, I think, 6 or 7 hours and just said, this isn't nearly as good, and I bounced. Now, I've had a couple of other Assassin's Creed truthers in my life kind of come out and say, hey, get back, give it another chance. But I think also what happened, Brian, is that I went from Odyssey to Ghost of Tsushima, which is like another period piece open worlder, but I also think it might be a top, I think you and I agree on this, I think it might be a top 5 game all time for me. Like it's just gorgeous, and the music and the voice casting and just, it's an unbelievable experience, but it is different than an Assassin's Creed game, and it focuses on the duels. So I don't know if that threw me off, but I saw you just wrote a piece about Valhalla and some of these new add-ons. That one just didn't resonate with me the same way Odyssey did.
Yeah, so Valhalla didn't grab me as much as Odyssey did either. I only put about, I want to say 15 or 20 hours into Valhalla before I moved on to Cyberpunk, which was a whole nother thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that I want to go back to Valhalla, but every time I do, I feel not as compelled as I ever did with Odyssey. And I don't know if that's the setting, because I feel like they have so much fog, and I understand that's the setting, that you're in England. So like I feel like the fog kind of like lowers the visual fidelity for me, and it feels not as crisp coming off of something like Odyssey, where it's just these beautiful scenic shots, or Ghost of Tsushima, where it's just no matter where you look, there's just unforeseen beauty. It's
crazy.
Probably the most beautiful game I've ever played. And by the way, you were talking about PS5. When I got my PS5, I was just finishing up all the side quests on Ghost of Tsushima, so I downloaded it to my PS5. It runs so smooth on PS5. It's even better on PS5, and I was shocked by that. But back to Valhalla, I don't like the setting quite as much, but I do think that there are some cool things built into it. I like the raids, which they actually added a new mode in this update that you mentioned, called River Raids, where you go to other parts of England and just basically raid these settlements and take their loot and treasures and complete challenges and stuff. So that's cool, and they keep adding new updates. So hopefully they keep making these improvements, and it's not a bad game by any stretch, but I think that Odyssey is still going to be my favorite.
You had a pedantic Tekken question, right, Tor? What did you want to ask, Brian?
I 100% did. As a big Tekken nerd, I know this would probably be deemed a Mortal Kombat show that we do here.
It's not a Mortal Kombat show. I just like Mortal Kombat.
Well, with your proclivities for Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat show. That's what the show's all about. We talk Mortal Kombat every day. My God.
Well, Brian, I've been kind of eagerly waiting for Tekken 8 to be released by Namco, simply because the Tekken 7 multiplayer lobbies have been horrendous for me as a rather casual gamer. But I know Namco's done a really good job of keeping Tekken 7 fresh with the DLC and all of that. So I've seen reports that the earliest, like the absolute earliest that we could see a Tekken 8 drop on the market is late 2021. When do you expect that 8 comes out for this series?
Oh man, so yeah, they've done a great job. They've kind of done what Street Fighter V, which actually just celebrated its 5th anniversary this week. They've done a great job of kind of keeping the game alive and making it so that people want to keep coming back through new content and new DLC and everything. But yeah, at a certain point, you do want that new entry. I haven't heard anything in like specific about when we could get a Tekken 8, but I do think that given how quiet it's been around it, I think that, yeah, late 2021 probably is the earliest we would see it. I would say that if we're going to get an announcement, it would probably be closer to E3 timing, even though like there's not going to be a conventional E3 again this year. But it does seem like there's some streaming events happening. They've announced preliminary plans to make that a digital event, and that's typically when we have gotten Tekken news. Like I've actually done interviews with the creator of Tekken at E3, and it's always been like, all right, this is our big info dump. So if they remain true to that, that's when we would probably hear the first stuff, maybe a tease just before that. It's just everything is so weird now with COVID, where it's like, you don't have as many events to announce things. So sometimes you'll just wake up on a random Tuesday and it's like, oh, they announced Tekken 8. Other times it's like everything has been pushed. Like I've talked to a lot of developers and it's like timelines on things that were planned late 2020 into mid 2021 have just been pushed into 2022 because of just the difficulties of everybody working from home, the difficulties of, just dealing with everyday life while everybody's at home. You have to worry about things like, oh, well, my daycare is closed, so I have to also take care of my kid while I'm trying to do work. So it's stuff like that is also pushing a lot of these announcements further out. I'm not saying that's what happened necessarily with Tekken 8, but I think that it's entirely possible.
By the way, now you have me all self-conscious because I did have a Mortal Kombat question for Brian, and now I'm like, do people think this is a Mortal Kombat show? Now I feel a little weird. It's squealing air brakes. What did you think? They're releasing the images. I saw they just as we are taping this. It was earlier in the day today, of course, as you're listening. They just released Scorpion, but they're doing all these kind of animated vignette kind of character profile pics on the Mortal Kombat movie. I'm gotta say, Brian, I'm very nervous that we're getting a trailer on Thursday for, I don't know when people are listening to this, for a movie that comes out in like 2 months. Like, I don't know that's generally the way you do it, but these characters look great. I mean, it looks like they're definitely hitting a home run with the hardcore fan base. If you would have told me a 2021 Mortal Kombat movie was going to have a chance to kick ass, I don't know if I would have believed you. I know I'm going to watch it. What do you think about what we've seen thus far?
I think those characters look great.
They do.
Especially Sub-Zero, if you look at like the details that they got on him, including even the ice sword, it's like, oh man, they nailed the vibe of these characters. They nailed the look of these characters. I think that the animated posters that they put out look really cool. I'm less concerned about like the way the fighting will look, which I think is the most important part of a Mortal Kombat movie. Like, it could have a cool story. Like, what is it? Like a retired MMA fighter is like trying to like enter the Mortal Kombat tournament or something like that, or it was some weird thing like that. But I don't necessarily need a really cool story to want to see a Mortal Kombat movie. Like, you go to those things for the action. You go to and it sounds like they're working with like very knowledgeable martial artists and choreographers. So I'm hoping that bodes well for what we're going to get. But also, you want to see these characters come to life. You want to see Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight it out on the big screen or whatever screen you end up watching it on in the pandemic. But,
I want that.
This is why I'm subscribing to HBO Max. I want all these movies to come on my, I don't know about you. I do miss the theater experience.
I do.
But at the same time, it's awesome to just be like, I'm going to make dinner and then go downstairs and watch Wonder Woman or whatever movie just hit HBO Max.
You can always donate to The Chad Dukes Show using the Donate tab on ChadDukesShow.com. You'll help us keep improving the product, and you'll earn yourself a verbal nod on the next episode. We thank you for your support, friendos.
The BMI is going to be interesting today. Well, let's go ahead and hit your production, Ant-Man.
This is the Body Mass Index on the Chad Dukes Show.
Body mass index, of course. We're going to it's going to be a mutated sumbitch today because we all kind of have a role to play in this. But let's get the formatics in, man. Let's get the pomp and circumstance out of the way. You did review a new snack for us here today to satisfy the requirements of the body mass index.
Yes, I did. So the snack that I reviewed is by Candy Popcorn, and it was a Snickers flavored popcorn.
Snickers flavored anything, ice cream bars, cookies, any of that, generally going to be pretty good. If I had to rank candy bars, do like a power ranking, they're probably the Duke, the UNC. You know, they're going to be there every single year. Yeah.
So the popcorn had chocolate in it, peanuts, everything that you would find in a Snickers bar was in the popcorn.
A lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential. It was in little clusters. So there was 5 servings in the bag. A serving is 1 1/4 cup and 150 calories. Now
that's fucking ridiculous, by the way. I mean, if you think about a cup, it's not like a tumbler; it's a little measuring cup for baking. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Why even eat it? Like, I've never understood that. Like, if you're that concerned about empty calories, why would you even eat that stuff? Because you're not going to be satiated in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
stupid.
It is stupid. And
Dumb.
But what's odd is there was 0 cholesterol in it, which is pretty crazy.
There also was 0 honor in you when you squealed, "Stop it, Tor! You're hurting me."
that is true as well. 9 grams
right over there,
of fat.
by the way, is where it happened. I'm looking at right where it happened. Tar, let up on me. You done hurt me. Hold on, I'm gonna get this pillow here and wallop you. While you be upside your dome.
There's 18 grams of carbs and 12 grams of sugar, so
like
that's a win.
Probably tastes good.
As far as the flavor of it, I'm going to give it a 3.5 on the flavor. It tastes good. There wasn't enough chocolate and stuff in it. It had like a hint of a Snickers flavor, but you really had to put a bunch in your mouth so that you had everything combined. Otherwise,
a lot of isolation can happen on this episode.
And then for the quantity, the bag is enormous, and it was maybe a quarter full.
Yeah, I hate that bet. Terrible bet.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't happy with that. I'll give that a 2.5. And as far as an overall, and the price of it was $3.99, so that wasn't too bad. I'll give the pricing a 4, but I gave it a 3.5 overall rating.
Snickers branding that doesn't follow through, very disappointing, I would say. 3.5 is not a bad score for that, though.
No, I mean, I would eat it again, probably. I was a little disappointed, but you're right. Snickers, anything chocolatey flavored is good. Popcorn, I mean...
I'm not a big popcorn guy, but our buddy Fan of Radio, who's, of course, a big listener of this show, his kid was doing some sort of fundraiser, and they were selling... like artisan popcorn.
That stuff was amazing.
It was unbelievable. The churro popcorn. And it was the first, I had a tour moment where I didn't know that caramel corn mixed with cheesy popcorn is a thing. Yeah. I think it's called Chicago style.
Yeah, Chicago style, yep.
That is a spectacular snack.
Yep.
It is the perfect combination of the sweet and savory. Really, really good stuff. So every other type of popcorn I've kind of subsequently tried after that. It's been a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, that popcorn that his son was selling was amazing. And you're right, they had a great a variety of popcorn, and it was a really good deal too.
One thing I don't like about popcorn, I don't know how you boys feel about this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of tooth picking afterwards, which I'm not a big fan of. And then it is in no way satiating. Like, you could eat whatever type of popcorn forever, and you're never going to get a modicum fuller than you were before. I mean, it's a good snack. It's like light beer. If you just want to sit there and consume it all day, but you're never going to get any satiation whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a bummer. All right, Ant-Man, let's do our dollar menu items here, and then we need to get to the sliced pizza that we had, which was absolutely spectacular. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So the first big news that I found was, of course, at my favorite place on earth, McDonald's.
You do like McDonald's.
Is bringing back High C Orange. And not only are they bringing back High C Orange, but they are having free fries Friday from now through June. So if you spend $1 on a large High C,
sure,
you get a free French fries.
What type of High C is that again?
The Orange High C.
Okay. Do you remember about 30 minutes ago when Tor said, "Hey guys, my story is the Orange Lava Burst. High C is coming back to McDonald's, so don't use that one," and we both said okay?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, that happened about 30 minutes ago right over there.
Oh. Well, I had that written down from yesterday.
Right, but do you remember 30 minutes ago when Tor said the story I'm going to use for the BMI is the Orange Lava Burst High C is coming back to McDonald's, and we both said okay.
My brain is not working after last night, so I don't remember it. Sorry, Tor.
The guys, I mean, the destruction left in the wake of the narcissists this weekend has been exponential. Well, you got hosed there, Tor.
Yeah, I had actually written that down to be pitched as a real topic on the show last week.
Right.
Now, it was so impactful for me that the Orange High C lava burst, not the Orange High C.
Yeah, that's why I kept asking, because I knew he didn't have that detail.
Was coming back. It was important to me. I didn't even want to.
Do you like that stuff?
I do, because I mean every kid has that drink that they had with the Happy Meal when they grew up, right?
Sure.
That for me, it's on the top 3. It's on the Mount Rushmore of fast food drinks. It's up there with McDonald's Sprite. It's up there with what would I say? Chick-fil-A sweet tea. It's up there.
The only reason I didn't like it is there were no bubbles, and I just felt like you need to have a carbonated beverage if you're going to be eating fast food. But I understand the nostalgia. Harkening back, I was surprised at how many people seemed excited about it on social media when I saw the story. I was even more surprised when about half an hour ago you said, hey, I'm doing that story, and then I heard it kind of come out of Ant-Man's mouth without all of the details. Mine's pretty straightforward. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is, excuse me, Popeyes is re-adding chicken nuggets to its menu. Now, for those of you that don't know, I think you can find this in places. Maybe we can get a copy of it and post it on the website. I did a show, I don't even know how many years ago, probably 8, 9 years ago now. It was called the Chicken Nugget Show in 4D. And it was me, Dukes, it was Drab T-Shirt, it was Dan Creasy, and it was Danny Rouillet. The funny thing is, I doubt either of the other 3 hosts would take a phone call from me now, which is very sad for me. That's neither here nor there. We did an hour-long show about nothing but chicken nuggets and why chicken nuggets were such a great food, and if boneless wings were considered chicken nuggets, and the difference between the tender and the nugget. If it sounds pedantic and annoying, it is, but we still had a really good time. The reason why this is big is that I think it was Pastry, before he got hit by a bus and knocked off a cliff into a sea of sharks' laser beams on top of their head. He brought Chick-fil-A nuggets, he brought Chicken McNuggets, he brought Wendy's nuggets, and then he brought Popeye's chicken nuggets. And Popeyes won. It was the most well-reviewed and well-received on that show. I always love Popeyes nuggets. I never think of nuggets when I go to Popeyes, which is strange because they're, chicken is their stock and trade. But I was excited to see those coming back because I remember doing that show and having a lot of fun, and people dug it. And the Popeyes nuggets were the ones that won the day. What's your go-to nugget, gentlemen, if you had to pick one?
On my drive down here in Ashland, I was excited. I saw there was a big rest stop. All right, stopped at a Wawa, got a case of seltzers. All right, got some gas.
Which you subsequently drank 3 hours later.
Yes,
all of them. Sensing a theme here.
And then I also saw there was a Wendy's, and I wanted to get a Baconator for the road, and I wanted to get some of their nuggets because I think they're good on the road also.
Okay.
Because I feel like McDonald's nuggets are enhanced so much better when you can dip them, and dipping in the car is much more difficult, especially on during an ice storm on a major highway.
Well, I'd also say McDonald's nuggets are actually designed to enhance dipping because they're so flat, and I don't think a lot of other nuggets from fast food places are.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking Wendy's. All right, they're kind of soft. They're going to be warm. It's freezing outside. I'm going to get that. It'll be good. And then I was apparently there must have been some festival being held at this Wendy's because I sat in that drive-through line for about 10 minutes and I didn't move up one spot. So I then went to Popeyes and just got 2 chicken sandwiches and a thing of tenders.
I don't know what it is, the fast food joints that are off the highway. Unless it's Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out Burger, you generally don't get the sharpest knives in the drawer working at those places. Mm-hmm. They're so much worse. There's an Arby's that my wife and I go to every single time we drive down to the Outer Banks. It's really the only time I get to an Arby's because there's not one convenient for me. We have never had a good experience at this Arby's. They close early. They run out of things. You wait in line forever. They have never updated this Arby's. It's next to the Maritime Museum. There's a big whale skeleton in the hanging in this thing. And And I know because we'll just sit there forever waiting for the beef and cheddars to come out. I love Arby's. Like, Arby's is tremendous. I looked into it, by the way. The beef and cheddar is almost as bad for you as like a double quarter pounder with cheese. It's unbelievably unhealthy. But, yeah, I've had the similar. Whenever you're off a highway, like where people are only going to that place because they're driving through and they don't have to, no one is going to hold you accountable. I just feel like the service at those fast food restaurants goes through the basement. I asked you what nugget you like the best. You didn't tell me.
I'd say for the car drive now, I would say Wendy's, but overall, I'd say McDonald's.
Okay.
I mean, Chick-fil-A nuggets, they don't give me a nugget vibe. It's just
they almost taste healthy to me. The Chick-fil-A nuggets. I like them, but
they're delicious.
I'm with you. I would rather have tenders or a sandwich from Chick-fil-A. It's not even close. What about you, man?
My favorite nugget is definitely the McDonald's nugget. I like all the dipping sauces. They're just easy to deal with, handle, and they're perfectly bite-sized.
Burger King's never gotten it right. Like, their nuggets suck. I think they give you 10 for like $1. They basically are giving them away. The chicken fries, like, they just have never been able to figure out how to do nuggets. I will say this, if I'm being critical of McDonald's, I don't think they're spicy chicken nuggets or anything special. I don't think they taste spicy at all.
No.
It's got to be McDonald's chicken nuggets, though. The 20-piece with a bunch of sauce is about as good as it gets. I can eat them as a side. I can eat them as a meal. And I know it's not real chicken. I know you bite into it. People find heads and cartilage and shit all the time. But who cares? You're going to McDonald's anyway. I don't think you're all that concerned. So that's good. Did you have it? You didn't have a story then, Tor, because you got hoarded by Ant-Man?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about, my impactful childhood drink and see if either of you two had any at fast food restaurants. Like that you really associated with that restaurant. You go there, that's what I'm going to get.
Well, the Coca-Cola at McDonald's, I don't know if it's ever been proven that they do something to it, but they do. It's different. Their ketchup is different, and I always think that's my favorite. But this isn't a childhood thing, but going to a taco place. There was one in Springfield Mall called Taco Laredo. Yeah. And then, of course, there's Tippy's, which is my favorite. The taco places with the birch beer and the crushed ice is as good as it gets for me. I'll get it 10 times out of 10. I'll drive extra distances because I know a place has it. As far as eating, that's like a traditional fast food thing, but that's probably my one seed. I love the fact that Chick-fil-A they got Diet Dr. Pepper and they have Coke Zero. Like, they take the time to realize that more fat people drink a lot of diet soda, and there's way better diet sodas than just standard Diet Coke. And I always really appreciate the fact they have both of those.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a favorite drink from my childhood, but did you guys ever just mix all the different sodas together?
Yeah, we call it a suicide. That's what we call it.
I used to love doing that when I was a kid.
I did too. I don't know why. It had to be gross.
I tried it as an adult, and it was awful. But I love doing that as a kid.
Where you do it the most, of course, is the Slurpee machine at 7-Eleven. Like, you just sit there and you have this awful-looking gloppy concoction.
Yep.
I haven't had a Slurpee in 100 years, and I haven't had a desire to have it. The adults drink Slurpees? I feel like those are like the domain of the child.
I've had Slurpees like when I was working outside during the summertime a lot. I would get a Slurpee on my lunch break just because it would cool you down. But they are not as good as I remember. I
can't imagine going into 7-Eleven and looking at that bank of Big Gulps and not getting a Big Gulp. Like, that's what I'm going to get, a super Big Gulp. That's what I'm going to get. And I don't know what it is about a super big gulp for me being completely palatable, but if I get the double gulp, I'm like, you fat pig, you loser, you disgusting monster. You're getting a double gulp, you cow. I don't know what it is about it. Like, a super big gulp to me is like, oh, yeah, this is going to make my dick hard.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But then you get the double gulp, and you're like, oh, there you go. When you ever suck the jelly out of a jelly donut and fill it with French vanilla ice cream, you fat Sally? Like, I don't know what that is. It's weird. And then the construction workers, like Ant-Man, that bring in the giant... What one is that? The giant... it's a plastic mug the size of a Buick Skylark, and they fill that thing up. What is that called, man? I know you've had to have one of those.
I used to have one. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm pretty sure it was close to a half a gallon.
It's outrageous. And the problem with soda is, however much there is, that is how much I will drink. Yeah. So if there's 2 gallons of Coke Zero... and it's got ice in it, it's fucking going down the hatch. So you got to get the super big gulp. Brings me to one of my favorite topics, and that is motherfucking the people that go for free Slurpee Day or fill up your own cup Slurpee Day at 7-Eleven. First of all, how little is your time worth? How little do you value your life on this planet that you'll go and for fucking 45 minutes you'll sit there to get a thimble full of a substance that maybe will cost you $2 the next day to fill up a bowling bag full of. I mean, it is the cheapest commodity on earth. It is ice with juice in it. That's all that it is. And the people that go to Free Slurpee every day are the people that are lugging in football helmets. Like, I can fill up whatever I want with Slurpee. I'm not going to wait in line. You're disgusting. It's just the worst. The only thing that's worse going into a 7-Eleven, those fucking people are the lottery ticket people that'll just sit there. And then the clerk, the good 7-Elevens have it down. They got a clerk for the jerk-ass lottery people, and then they got a clerk for everyone else that's got someplace to be. Like, give me my pack of Marlboro Lights, give me my 2 taquitos and my Gatorade. Let me get the fuck out of this hellhole. And everyone's sitting there, I'll take 2 more of the Shoot 6 trio. Fuck off. And they make them go through all of it, and they're bleeping and bleeping, buying more goddamn lottery tickets. You're a lottery ticket guy, man. I know you've held up some 7-Eleven lines at some point.
Yeah, I definitely buy some scratch-offs every now and then, but I never win, so I'm just losing money. So I've never had to cash it in. But it's funny that you say that. On our way down here, we stopped at a gas station, and I guess in North Carolina they have something where you can turn in your losing lottery tickets to get like a free pick 6 or something. Right. And some guy brought in like 30 of them, and this poor woman had to sit there while it was just dinging, going, free pick 6, and then printing it out. Pick 6.
I think what it is, lottery people are of low intellect. And I think also when you're of low intellect, you're not aware of your surroundings. So you're dealing with a stupid narcissist that doesn't know what's going on around them. And so then it's very much like what you just did with Tor's Orange High C story. Like, you couldn't be bothered to pay attention when he let you know that was that story. And you needed to say something, so you ruined everyone's time. Dick Smokin'. I'm going to pretend I have COVID. I'm going to take the master bedroom. I'm not thinking that, when I leave, no one else is going to be able to use it. All I think about is me and my weird feet. Like, I just think that that's something that happens with low intellect people. What do you think, Tor?
I'm irritated when people are holding up the 7-Eleven.
For any reason.
It's just, I have places to be. You should have places to be.
Also, 7-Eleven is the reason why you're going there and paying the extra money is for convenience.
Yes.
It's for the fact that you want to be in and out. And you eliminate that, it just becomes a small, dirty store filled with awful people.
Exactly.
Now, I love 7-Elevens. It doesn't sound like that I do, but the conduct inside of them should be the same. Okay. Boys, we should wrap the BMI up. We all had a shared experience. Of course, that was Tor throttling Ant-Man and cracking his head off the ground. Before that, we had a different shared experience. Now, Ant-Man, when was the first time you sampled the pizza that we're going to discuss here?
It was 2 summers ago. It was the first night of the summer trip down here.
Okay.
And I believe it was Matt came back with 2 enormous pizzas.
We've been getting it for a couple of years down here. Tor, you have not sampled this pizza, correct?
It was my first experience with the pizza.
Virginal sojourn is what we say. Because Tor's a virgin. So, we drove up in that smoke and brew through, and Tor was like, ew!
I already told you what the situation was. It did not look good. There was no promise for me sitting in the back with Ant-Man next to me and Mom and Dad in the front.
How you doing, honey?
It was just...
You want to watch me being able to keep an erection? You had an entire bottom floor available for you to try to woo that poor girl. Absolutely no chance.
Your wife was in the car. Like I said,
you gonna blame my wife? You got no game?
I didn't want to holler in front of her.
Let me holler at you. Let me holler at you. Let me holler at you. So, what were we talking about? Oh, pizza.
Yeah. Yes.
Name of the place. I'll give them a free plug, even though the pizza is... How much was the pizza, Ant-Man?
It was $52.
For one pizza?
One large pizza.
Now, was it worth it?
Hell yeah.
Okay. I know it was worth it for Tor, because the amount of tabs Tor has picked up down here is the same amount of decathlons I've ran.
I'll get lunch today.
You told me you're leaving right after the show. You're going to get lunch for yourself. You're going to get more nuggets and spicy chicken sandwiches.
I tried to get it at the bar last night.
No, it's fine. I'm kidding. Kidding, of course. It's called Slice Pizzeria. All right? I think it's in milepost about 7 or 8, right next to the brewing station. I don't know what they call it. Do we even know what they call the pizza?
It's called the stuffed meat pizza.
Okay. Inside of this pizza is pepperoni, sauce, cheese. Looks to be some onions. There's some meatballs. And then there's shaved ribeye inside of this pizza. And you say, well, Dukes, how do they do it? There's dough on the bottom, and there's dough on the top. And basically, and I think you could describe it as this, Tor, it's almost like a calzone pizza or a stromboli pizza or something of that nature.
Yes.
But it's sliced up like a pizza, like it's a big, the conveyance is the big round pizza format. It comes with a big tub of marinara because there's no marinara on the inside. So you actually drizzle that on the top, or you dip it, or what have you. And the marinara is delectable as well, but it works with or without it. That, of course, was the marinara that made Ant-Man make this noise in the back of the car. This pizza is a fucking home run. Like the home run Ant-Man's going to hit off tour. Absolutely delicious. It is, I have to give you credit, Gigantor. I've never seen anyone comfortably finish 2 slices of this thing, and I felt like you did that to the extent of, I believe later on the night you went back for a unprecedented 3rd slice of this pizza, which again, I have never been able to touch that. I'm a man that likes to eat. What did you think of your first slice meat fucking goddamn orgasm pizza?
It was delicious. Now, at school, it was calzone country. So I was used to calzones.
I need to go to calzone country. Seriously. Sounds like my hood.
But so I'm used to that kind of style of the breading all around. But you couldn't, if you get it hot, you can't eat it with your hands.
No.
It's just not going to physically work or happen for you. So fork and knife style, it was delicious. It felt like I was just eating all the good meats, great cheese, and the sauce on top was great. And then for the 3rd slice that I had, it was cold, and I just went handheld with it.
It's great. By the way, cold is delicious.
Yeah.
Did it taste any better because you knew how inconvenienced Ant-Man was by carrying the pizza around until we were able to eat it?
100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of lap time for that pizza, and I think one of the reasons why the heat didn't dissipate is because of the enormous amount of like BTUs BTUs rather than, or what is it, BTUs?
I think so.
That Ant-Man's lap generates, and so it was able to keep the pizza warm. Ant-Man, you eat a lot of pizza.
Yeah.
Where does this rank?
This is definitely my 1 seed. I love it. I look forward to getting it
1 seed of
every
all
time.
pizzas?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this is my favorite thing to get down here. I know we're at the beach and it should be seafood, but that sliced pizza is a home run.
It's always fun going to a place to eat with Ant-Man, and like they're known for their seafood, and then you watch him just order a big bowl of pasta with like additional bread and cheese on top of it. And I'm like, well, this is like taking a 4-year-old out to eat every single time.
I didn't need that pancake yesterday, but it was my first time experiencing that breakfast joint. They're known
Bob's.
They're known for pancakes. I had to get a pancake and try that.
That was an enormous pancake, by the way. By the way, if you would have hit Ant-Man with that pancake, it would have ended the fight. It would have ended the fight so quickly. Would have been concussed. I don't know how you boys feel. I don't like when people fuck around with pizza. Mm-hmm. I don't mind it. It's like I'll try a stuffed crust or whatever it is, bacon wrapped. You know, like people do all this different stuff. I just feel like, for me, the same way I don't need to dip wings in ranch or blue cheese. Like a hot wing is such a delicious food. Pizza's so perfect that I really don't need you to gimmick it up all that much. So to say it's my favorite, I probably couldn't do that. But I don't like margarita pizza. I don't like upside down pizza. It's like, just stop fucking with this thing. It's perfect. That said, incredibly unique. I've never seen a pizza like this. I guess it's the shaved ribeye that's inside of it that makes it that much more savory. And then also, I don't know about you boys, I don't know a lot of chain pizza restaurants that have really good dough. I mean, dough is the hardest part of the pizza to do. And there's this big, like, kind of folded over, almost treble clef of dough at the end of it where the crust should be. And that's as good as the rest of the shit inside of it. I think that's what separates it.
The dough, it was cooked perfectly. On the bottom, you could tell that it had been just perfectly brown, all of it. It was great dough also. And then in the crust itself, I mean, it's like the world's biggest cigar that you're trying to put down. It was great with the marinara itself. It's like you have that to dip, you have that to scoop up whatever you dropped. It was just a perfect amount of excess dough and how they used it.
And to dip that dough, their marinara sauce is good too. And that's tough to do all 3 of those things. And then to dip a big chunk of that dough in the marinara sauce afterwards was absolutely splendid there for us. I wonder, this is a remote place. You know, there's not a lot of anything down here except seafood. I wonder why we don't have anything like that up where we're from. I feel like there's a pizza delivery place every 15 feet. I've never seen any type of pizza like that in the Washington, D.C. area or any of the other places I've lived. I wonder why that's not more of a common thing.
I've seen pizza done that way up in New York. They have some of those stuffed pizzas, but never not like that. Not with all that meat and not that thick. I mean, it's usually a thinner slice. Those slices,
THICC, by the way. It's
yeah,
that's how thick it is.
those slices have to weigh a pound apiece, easy. I mean, it's so good. It's just unbelievable. And like you said, the dough is a 10 out of 10.
It is. How annoying do you think it is to be that chick at the brew-through? Because she's got to get just absolutely besieged with dudes hitting on her the entire time. But I bet it's good for a lot of tips. But you get a lot of tips in that joint.
Yeah, she definitely gets tipped well. And that cop had to be there for at least 30 minutes.
We drove up, and he was spitting game, and then we saw the car leave, and I didn't see no cash get exchanged.
Yeah.
I didn't see Diet Cokes get thrown into the cab. We know what he was there for.
Yeah.
He knows when she's working, he slides on through.
There was a moment while I was in the back seat, and I was on the side behind Dukes, and I realized, Tor, you haven't blinked in about a minute.
Smoke.
Please stop staring at her because you're just staring.
And you're a pig. That thing, too, is off-season, man. Like February, rainy night. Like, you expect that is summertime level ability and talent. You know what I mean? This is not the fall league.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
She was. I feel bad for her, too. Very nice. I try to be as... When I'm in a situation like that, and I know that every other person on earth is hitting on this girl, I try to go out of my way to make sure that it's a professional exchange. Like, how are you? Yes, how's your father? Excellent.
It's a good play.
Go ahead and stay in school. All right. Mutual funds, you know anything about those? That pizza is going to be tough to be top. But I got to say, man, many good meals down here, Ant-Man. I think at one point I had taken pictures of you with roughly a quarter mile of food in front of you. And I got to say, queso fundido, if somebody came up to me and said, look, we can either cure cancer or every day we're going to make you a plate full of queso fundido, I'm sorry. I think everybody's got to still keep dying of cancer because that stuff, well, I'm just poor. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. But, I mean, if you just gave that stuff to me on a shovel, you ever had queso fundido? It's like the sausage and the cheese. It's a dip. It's a dip that you get at the Mexican joints.
Yeah, I've had it. It's delicious. It's unnecessarily delicious to put
Really is.
to put chorizo and peppers into it. It's just, who does that?
And also,
who could even think of it?
I always order it before I'm ordering like some massive sunken burrito or anything. And I'm just like, why? This could be the meal. This could be it. Thanks for checking out the Friday episode of the Chad Duke Show. Thank you to Jay Chandrasekhar and Brian Shea, Headlock Gaming, Ant-Man. Everybody that we had on this week was a great week. All the boys for the movie club. And again, you get an episode every day over on ChadDukeShow.com. And then we're throwing bonus shows at you all the time. Did a video game show this week, did a music show the week before. There's always additional content going up, so make sure you're considering going to ChadDukeShow.com and subscribing, throwing a couple sawbucks down on the... Look, here's what I say. Cancel Amazon Prime. Cancel Netflix, the WWE Network, SiriusXM. Whatever you got to cancel, do you really need Peacock or the new Paramount? No. You need the Chad Duke Show. I'm going to be here for ye. So thank you to all of you that have taken the plunge and signed up for things over there on the website. Got to give a big thank you to MyBookie. That's right. MyBookie.ag, Jack. The only place your pal throws cash. Go on over there. Use the promo code DUKES, DUKES. You do that, they're going to take care of you. Mobile-friendly device, website, whatever it is you're going to use. Your deposit will be matched up to halfway, up to $1,000. You're going to get some extra credit over there. Just use the promo code DUKES when you make your first deposit. And the best part is, you're going to make that deposit? It's easy. Credit card, bank transfer, Bitcoin. They do it all. And look, friendos, it's the best time of the year to bet because you were going to watch football anyway. You want to check out some UFC? Maybe it's not the cut of your jib. I got a bet for you. You're going to bet on a fight, man. You're going to care about that fight. Actually, going to MyBookie makes you a better sports fan. Derek Lewis, by the way, fighting this Saturday. That's my guy. He's plus 335 against Curtis Blades. Plus 335. You know what that means? $10 will win you $33.50. That's what that means. And you say, well, Dukes, clearly he's a dog. Yeah, but he's got knockout power in both hands. That guy can end any fight. He's not out of any fight. What was it, Alexander Volkov? I think he won in like the last 3 seconds. of the fight. And dude's hilarious. He's really easy to root for. So go on over there, put a bet down, $10-20, whatever. It's going to make it more interesting to watch the fight. And they got the NBA, the NHL. Tor, you actually do you have a tennis bet for this weekend? Is that what we're talking about now?
The tennis bet for this weekend is happening at 3:30 in the morning on the 19th. So I will not be taking that one. Instead, I'm going to have to turn heel and fade you.
You're fading me?
Yeah, on Curtis Blades, minus 435. I am ice cold. I literally have not won a bet on the show picking. I have to take a risk.
Do you think maybe this is a situation? Well, I'm betting. I just think that's a big. You can win it. It's a good win proposition for me, just because the guy's got knockout power. But clearly, he's a dog. What I'm saying is, fading me is not the way to go, young man. Correcting whatever your decision-making process is the way to go. Because for the record, Tor was over 3 in his last 3, and I was 3-0 in my last 3. So that's where we're at. So you know who to listen to if you're going on over to my bookie. So that's your whole plan now, just to bet against me?
No, not really. I'm taking the George Costanza approach, and all of my instincts have always been wrong. So I like Derek Lewis, and he does have knockout power, and he rules, but unfortunately, I have to kind of go against myself here.
I choose to expose myself. Please, there are ladies present. Love my bookie. Tremendous sponsors and supporters of the show. They've got all the latest odds, no matter what it is. MMA, soccer, NFL, NBA, college basketball. I know you're betting a lot of college basketball. Tour March Madness right around the corner. Go on over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code DUKES, DUKES, and they will hook you up on that first deposit. God bless them. God bless all of you guys. If you're subscribed to this show, thank you. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. That would be absolutely tremendous. Every little bit helps. And look, even if you subscribe, this show is a great way for you to show people how much fun we're having over there on the Chad Duke Show. So go ahead and spread that word to all the good people out there in Takerland. They can get a little taste of what's going on right here each and every Friday. Quick reminder, Long Halloween continues Saturday, Commonwealth Dry Goods. I'll be there working all day, Old Town Fairfax. You should come on by. We're going to have the spicy dill pickle jerky. Got a bunch of pickles in stock, actually. They're absolutely delicious. And of course, Chapter 6, brand new Halloween candle. We're doing one each and every month for an entire year. John Carpenter's The Thing is the subject of this one. So stop on by the shop if you haven't. It'll be a good time on Saturday. Tor, thank you. Always good to be here with you, bud.
Can't wait to see you tonight.
Going to be exciting. We got lots and lots to do. The Chad Dukes Show Friday Night Hootenanny is tonight on Facebook Live. If you're listening on Friday, come check us out. Facebook.com/Chad Dukes Show. We go live at 7 p.m. for a video hootenanny. It is an S-load of fun, and we'd love to have you there. Good Lord is willing and the creeks don't rise. We'll meet you on Facebook at 7 p.m. tonight. Roll out those trash cans, Tor.